Hello. Good to see you today, Dana. Um, to everyone who's watching and listening, I am interviewing today Dana Magnus. She's a creative brand strategist with Marketing Brand, and she has called herself the wedding planner of marketing. So I'm super excited to have her on because I know that marketing is one of those topics that us as entrepreneurs always want to know more about, because without marketing, we don't get to really grow. So thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for the great introduction as well. I think you put it just right. We can't grow without making sure that this step in our business is taken care of, all aspects involved.
Absolutely. So I did introduce you already, but I'd like you in just a few sentences in your own words to tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Awesome. So as Chris mentioned, I'm the owner of the Marketing Brand. I'm a creative brand strategist who works primarily with service-based businesses on creating their marketing plan. I believe that we all have the ability to connect with people in the world and connect our services and what we do to make the world a better place. And I call the type of marketing that I help businesses plan is mission-driven marketing. And with mission-driven marketing, I think it's the most fun and exciting part of business, and it kind of makes you fall in love with marketing again because you really can put your heart and your really center and your passion of what you're doing and let that be what you share with the world.
I agree. I love that it's mission driven, because I think that so many of us have a purpose behind our business because we can. You know, it's not like a job that we go into when we create our business. There's usually a passion behind it. And I love that you really want to pull that out and help us, be more authentic in our marketing. So tell me and the audience a little bit about how you got into all of this.
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I like to call myself the never-ending learner and creator and innovator of my own journey. And somebody once told me that because I used to be like, why do I just have something new going on every 2 years? And he put it really nicely. He's like, because you can constantly keep outgrowing where you are. And I thought that was like the best way to put it. So I started my career as a student, of course, in marketing and advertising. While I was also performing my, of course, side hustle. I was a photographer growing my photography business. And my husband and I now, boyfriend at the time, decided to move across the country to San Diego from Chicago. And I had to quickly learn how to completely start a business from scratch without any word of mouth or anyone's like family, friends knowing who I was. So there was a lot of digging deep and deciding, like, what do I stand for and who do I want to be known as, and using my marketing background to be a proven, I guess, testament of creating a small business using marketing and completely starting from scratch. So all the businesses out there, I feel you 100% because I was there, and that's how I have credibility to speak to the things that I talk about. I ended up growing both businesses in 2 different states, and is there like a scratching noise? Sorry, hope you can edit that out. So I ended up building the 2 businesses both in 2 different states for photography. I call them like 2 separate ones because it's really like a local thing. I have to be there. And then 10 years goes by or somehow, some way, and I was also laid off in my marketing career along the way and had to really decide, like, what can I do to make money as an entrepreneur and live off of this income that I bring in with my own 2 hands? So it's interesting. That's kind of how my path and my journey went, is, just kind of figuring things out and building off of just straight up problems and being a problem solver and creating the solutions. And then also looking around me and saying, what do people need, and listening and saying, like, what are the biggest things that entrepreneurs struggle with? After they get a headshot from you as a photographer, they needed all these other pieces to their entrepreneurship journey to get them launched and started. And I kind of fused the 2 businesses together to be a kind of marketing agency, if you will. I had a couple different vendors that I would bring in. That's why I call myself like the wedding planner of marketing. But my main goal was really to share with people how to do this yourself, because there's so many things that you empower yourself with, as long as you know the basics and the fundamentals of what marketing really is.
Great. And I love how when we talked before, you shared about how your photography really kind of just took a like this bigger picture, you know, that you understood from a young age that life is meaningful and the things that we do have an impact. And I love how you bring that into marketing now. Can you talk a little bit about like how that big picture, you know, that impact marketing, what's happening with that, and where is that playing a part now in growing our businesses?
That's the great way to put it is, you know, since I was young, I always thought that certain things were significant, and as small as they were, there was always a story behind the actual story that you saw. And when I was a photographer full time, I saw that so quickly. Once I actually got away from, okay, stand here in this light and, you know, pose this way and smile at me, asking questions that I did, I realized that every single person had such a story that they weren't even leading with, or they weren't even sharing. And you know, when I started to ask them the quote unquote marketing-ish questions about like, okay, so how are you going to use this photo? Are you putting it on LinkedIn? Is it your business card? Are you going to do a print ad somewhere, or is it for a banner piece? You know, I started to get to listen to the people's businesses a little bit more. And then I just kept asking that, you know, never ending stream of, oh, why? Or where did that come from? Or how did you do that? And when I realized there was so much more to the people and their businesses, especially like people in really boring industries like insurance or, you know, real estate, it's like they all had something really powerful of how they got into it. And had I not asked those questions, I would have never known that they had such burning passions inside of them, that they were just kind of going around their businesses or their lives, like just kind of holding out on some of these really important stories that made them human and that made other people really connect with them. And had they known, had they been sharing with those things and leading with them in their mission, I just feel like they could have really connected with people, that their problems would have been solved a lot quicker because they were able to step up and be of service for them. So I kind of used that whole experience of getting to know people beyond the surface level, bringing out their story, especially from a photography standpoint. But then in marketing is saying, wow, like if people just knew more about why you did what you did and how you can help them, you're just doing the world a disservice keeping it all to yourself, because there's so much more that you can give and serve and do that you're ready to do. It's just no one's giving you that opportunity to let you serve them, if that makes sense.
It does, because the thing that makes us unique is us. Like the thing that we do for the world, the service we provide, other people are doing it. And we can have competitors in our industries, but nobody can compete with who we are as a person, like our passions. And I think that I feel like there's this big trend towards authenticity and vulnerability. And it sounds like that's really what you're telling us to do in our marketing.
Absolutely. And the word authenticity is almost one of those buzzwords nowadays. And we smile because we're like, yeah, we need to be more authentic. And you're absolutely right, though. Instead, like the studies in marketing, like I follow a lot of like the marketing research experts, and when they're gathering data and information, and we're all trying as humans to keep up with these algorithms and AI, this stuff doesn't sell half as much as the, you know, the actual human side of business. And to the core, and somebody who really understands marketing from doing this for almost a decade, and building businesses, it really is that one-on-one personal connection. I like to say marketing is just two things: it's storytelling and being a part of a bigger community. And the only way to do that is through authenticity and really making a connection with another human being.
Yeah. Say that again. Marketing is storytelling and being part of a bigger community.
Absolutely. Yep. And that's really where mission driven marketing comes into play. Is it's you know, I hear a lot of really experienced business owners say, well, of course the marketing that we're doing is because we're already a mission based business first. But I think, well, aren't we all? I mean, we're all in the business to help and serve people. When it really comes down to a lot of these small business owners, like no one wants to wake up every day and struggle and feel like, oh, like this is so much work trying to figure out how to be an entrepreneur and where my next sale is coming from. I mean, it's a lot of taxing, both personally and professionally, and just overall time and money to be an entrepreneur sometimes. And when you get it, and it's great. But other times you're just constantly trying to feel like, how can I really show up in the world and serve and serve a greater purpose? And we're doing that because it comes from our gut, it comes from our heart, it comes from our head and our logic of what we really want to see done in the world. And I just kind of believe that we all, in a sense, are walking our own mission, both personally or professionally. And there's always a reason behind what we do. Even people who are very money driven, you peel back the onion and you always see, wow, maybe they're really hurting for something or they're wanting for something, and that money is their answer to get them somewhere. It doesn't make them an unethical person or a greedy person. It's like when you really strip it down, them as a human being, like there's something that they're after that is very human in them that sometimes people just care, don't see, right away. So I like to make marketing as that touch point, that really outer layer of our brand, as a way to show and share how much we actually care and we want to connect. We want to feel connected with people for more of a bigger purpose.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I've read a lot of things about millennials being the generation that want to work for companies that have this mission behind them. And I laugh because I'm like, maybe millennials are like finally demanding it, but I think every generation has wanted that on some level. They've wanted to know that somehow they're contributing to a greater good. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe that's just like my hippie parent raising, but I feel like we are ready for this deeper connection. Like, I have a lot of choices out there in who I pick for insurance, for example. And knowing someone's story does help me make a decision because I can say, you know what? They're human, they're real, and I do want to do business with them. And I'm seeing a lot of business movements that direction that don't involve millennials yet, and it makes me laugh that it's like being attributed to that generation when really this has been important for a long time.
It has. And I think with the age of information and technology changing us, and really we're seeing that we're moving away from actual physical, need to have all these crazy skill sets. It's like we really just want to find purpose. And more than ever, with so much going on and distracting us and us being identified in certain groups and ways. I mean, that's always been the case in society, but and Chris, you shared with me your amazing story about where you're really colliding your personal mission and your personal like passions to help the young teens, and you just feel better. Like you feel like you're doing something that you were put on this earth to do. I don't want to go too deep into the spiritual side of it, but it's like finding purpose is one of the most. I mean, you see so many people out there in life, struggling with so many interpersonal things and deep things that at the end of the day, they lose hope and feeling like, what is the purpose of me on this planet? And to kind of see that now trickle up into businesses and consumers, and 64%, and the number is probably even bigger now, but over 64% of consumers do want to only make purchases with companies who stand for something bigger with a purpose. And it's almost the question now of not saying, okay, what is your mission and what do you do, and what's so great about you. It's almost like saying, well, you better be worth something, you better be standing for something more. It's almost like we don't want to hear about a business we've just our last sandwich at or something, and they were doing everything wrong. We're almost like shocked at the other side of it. So I think that really shows that the world is going into a really positive, amazing place, that we're demanding, like you said, that need to really look out for each other. And that's so important.
Yeah. How do you help or what is your advice for helping a business owner really tap into that mission-driven part of their business? Because for a lot of
Well,
us, like, we want to make money.
yep.
And for some of us, we're connected to the why. But for example, for me, I've been doing my business and I've kind of been putting my passion to the side because I couldn't figure out how to make money with that. So it's like, I'll just make a ton of money and then I'll contribute financially to that passion. And now I'm
Right.
starting to shift into, how do I incorporate my passion into the money that I am making so that I can have
Right.
a bigger impact and support myself? So what advice do you have for those of us entrepreneurs who are really looking for, what the heck is my business mission, or how do I discover that
Yeah.
meaning?
When it comes down to it, and this is a lot of the work that I do with clients one-on-one, and it's when we create the marketing plans that really kind of outline this. For me personally, and if you kind of can interpret it this your own way, any business owner out there, is think about your immediate, presence, and like if there was an orb around you, and that's your brand, like what people know you as. And when you are so clear about what you do and why you do it and who it's benefiting and what is it for, you really can start to gravitate around you a community of people who will rally you up and to support you and want to vote with their dollars to make your success their success too, which is you're all coming together in full alignment. And I know that sounds really kind of like big picture, but I think I can have any business in the world, and as long as I really have a way I can concisely and communicate really well how I'm solving a problem in the world, and what does that look like, and what does it look like if I even blow that up in my biggest moments and vision of success, that I believe is where you really can start to draw that success from, and that following, and that money will follow. Easier said than done, but even if you are a business owner, like I had a client who was an insurance agent. I know I'm talking about financial services a lot, but it's kind of the one that people think about least as being mission driven, because they have so much regulations and they can only bring so much of their own personality into it. But a client of mine, he was a personal lines insurance agent, which means, he did home, auto, and small businesses. But he spent almost all of his free time on the weekends with his family to volunteer at the Rancho Coastal Humane Society in San Diego. And his mission of I just think that, helping animals and getting animals a home helps the family and the family life. And that's how he tied it back to his business. So sometimes you can create a really interesting combination of what you love and what you do and blend it together. And that's what makes you an entrepreneur, is you can create whatever you want, but just make it so sensational, or the way that you talk about it, by your energy and your enthusiasm. People will totally be drawn to you and say, oh my gosh, I get it. He talks about dogs and houses and families, and what does it mean to be a safe, protected family household, that you're happy. I mean, he fused it all together so nicely. And it was a wonderfully, wildly amazing campaign that we were able to put together in marketing for him. So he was known for something bigger and more, and he did more than just donate and write a check. So that's really where I would give another example.
Yeah, that's a great example. And I think that, at least for me, I am an overthinker, and I hear all this business advice about, get really clear and narrow. And it's almost like you're going backwards. Like you're saying, make it bigger, but you're
Yep.
still, it's funny because you're expanding us, right? To expanding our bubble to be more than what we do and more of who we be. And
Right.
yet in doing that expansion, we're actually getting more specific about who we are as a person, because
Yes.
we aren't just one dimensional. We are very robust in who we are as people. So
Yes.
I think that's brilliant. And
Well,
yeah.
because what do we follow every day? We don't follow it's for a lot of entrepreneurs, we're always following that carrot in front of us. Like, who do we want to become? What kind of clients do we want to have? What kind of money goals do we want? Just what is all of this for? And we're always looking ahead. And if I could say, like, live your day as if you already have those things and you're ready, you are that person already. who wants to contribute to the world. Like, why can't you do that for $10 a day versus 10 million a day? You know what I mean? Like, we can already be that person and start with that. And you would be like, I just cannot tell you, in social media, who, like, we all know that you can be whoever you want to be on social media, right? You can create this whole facade, you can create these stories, no one will fact check you. It's just like, this is who you show up as. But in the more authentic side, it's like, the more you just show up as yourself, and you are yourself, and you're talking about your values and the things you love and the charities you contribute to, you would be so shocked to really see who's paying attention and who's listening and who grabs those pieces and says, bumps into you at the grocery store the next week and was like, oh, how's that going? Like, people do listen. And I just think that that's something that I think is so opportunistic for us all, to just start sharing what's important to us and where we're going and who we want to become and what our bigger vision of the world is that we want to live in. And you'd be so shocked to see who comes out of the woodwork that's completely gravitated to that too. And they're like, ooh, I want that too. I want to totally support you and get to know you and be more close to you, because we are actually more alike than we ever thought we were. And that's also what helps business owners attract people who may not be their ideal clients, but more people who are referral partners and just community people who are their power supporters, and who would just say, I just want to talk you up all the time, even though I'm not your direct client or I'm not your direct target audience. I still can go find those people for you because I just love what you're doing. And that, in my opinion, makes growing your business so much more fun, enjoyable, easier, and it's less about the sale, it's more about the human.
I agree with you, because even hearing you say that, I think of a particular client that I have, and she is not my biggest client, but I'm always making connections for her because she has this really great mission that I just think is amazing, and more people need to hear about it. So as I see things and hear things, they just pop in my head and I think of her and I send it to her. And
that's the best brand you can have.
yeah, I mean, that would be great if I had even 5 people do that for me. How huge of an impact that could make.
Yep.
If I had people who just were that connected to my mission, to my brand, not even to what I do for a living, but my brand. That's very cool.
You said you only need 5 people, and that to some people, especially small businesses, is it's never about tens of thousands or millions of people that you need to know or be connected with. It's like, if you can't even make 5 people super clear and excited about what you're doing, how can you make 5,000 people super excited and contribute to what you're doing? So to give anyone hope out there, it's like, I'm a very big believer in like the mastery type of learning, and mastering something before just like jumping into a bunch of other things. It's like, really be intentional about that one relationship that worked really well, that turned into a client, that turned into, a lifelong client, that turned into someone who's referring you. Like, focus on those really important pieces and ask yourself better questions every day to be like, how could I have made that better? And like, that's how you scale, is when you really get it right and you're really clear. It's like, kind of like, just don't get lost in the chaos and feel so much pressure from that person's doing 20,000 Instagram followers and the other person's getting 75,000 likes at each photo or thing they post. It's like, they may be a mile wide but an inch deep, and it's like, the way that marketing is really working and brands are being built for sustainable success is more of that inch wide, mile deep kind of mentality. So I hope that helps people to feel a little bit more empowered to really use those 10 or 15 people they know really well, and just start asking them better questions on how they can support you.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to wrap up. What else, is there anything else you want to share with the audience before we get to our fun question?
Well, I guess the biggest thing that I'm excited to share, if it's helpful, if anyone wants to get to know me a little bit more, I teach a lot of workshops, and I'm actually hosting a retreat coming up in Chicago in April. And I love having discussions and conversations over talking at you. I know this is a little bit different of a format, but Chris, you and I like took our 20-minute conversation into like almost a 2-hour conversation if we could have kept going.
Right.
But I love really getting down and deeper and deeper. And if somebody's feeling struggling or stuck with like, oh, I just don't know what I stand for, I want to talk out my purpose a little bit more. The workshops and the retreats that I do, or just having a one-on-one introduction call with me, I just wanted to throw that out there that that's possible for us to help you immediately to get kind of some big breakthrough ideas.
Good. And all that contact information is in the show notes. So anyone who wants to take advantage of that, I really encourage it. All right, we're going to do our fun question. So let me pick here. Oh, this is a fun one. If you had a superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh my gosh, if I had a superpower, what would it be? Okay, so because I love people watching and I love observing and getting data, definitely becoming invisible would be amazing, because that would be like that I would have so much more insight and talk about authenticity. I can get so many more stories if I was invisible. So that's a good one.
Very good. I like that. Well, thank you again so much, Dana, for being on. You have so much information and knowledge, and I could absolutely spend hours chatting with you. So thank you so much for being on today. And I'll extend your invitation with the information in the notes so that anyone can reach out and talk to you. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me, Chris. You're amazing, and I'm just so grateful to be on the show. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.